Hey, alright, I've got about a minute to get this photo done. I'm putting myself under the kind of pressures I would have at work. I'm just imagining there's an editor sitting on my shoulder, leaning on it, looking at it, going, I need this photo in use conference 10 minutes ago, where have you been? And I'll say, well, I was out taking this photo. And he'll say, come on, stop talking, get the photo in. So here we are. So I just want to show you as many quick, dirty secrets to show how fast you can manipulate photos, or more accurately, how much bang for buck you can get with your Photoshop in as little movement as possible. You know, a lot of the internet's about spending ages on your photo and, you know, cooking them up really nicely, and, you know, spending time massaging each pixel and just, you know, putting a lot of love and time into your pictures, using layers, using a lot of tools, editing in a non-destructive way, and all these lovely things which, you know, frankly are totally impractical in a newsroom. And even though we may have learnt them at some point, as soon as we get in the newsroom, we've just chucked it in the bin. And we're working on the background layer. We're spending no more than 2-3 minutes tops on every picture. We are just getting the stuff in. We're just, you know, adding salt and pepper, essentially, to boost the flavors. So here goes. First thing I always like to do is just give it a layers adjustment. I just did this a minute ago. Now I'm in Photoshop. It's way better. Layers adjustment. Cool. Checking out the histogram, seeing, I never know how to pronounce that right, but I always call it histogram. I'm sure that's wrong, but just been saying it for 10 years now, and it's kind of fun, and everyone laughs, so if you're at home laughing, cool. Anyway, so basically dark bits, light bits, and, you know, bland bits. So let's kill the bland, add a bit of punch in. I might be clipping a few highlights in the white spots, you know, over here or up in here or something. Frankly, I don't care. I'm happy to see those pixels go in the bin. They're crap, and we don't need them for this job. Now I've just flicked onto the quick mask tool by hitting Q, and then I've hit X to make sure my pen is, or brush is, black, and I'm just going to make a quick selection of all this here because I want to make it pump a bit. Now I think I've painted over Grant here, who's my friend and probably the best photographer I've ever met. Black makes, white taketh away. Bam. Cool. Alright. Happy with that selection. As you can see from my brush here, it's pretty big. It's not hard at all, so the edges are nice and soft, which means we don't have to then go into and feather the selection. It's just all pretty nice. Actually, I'm pretty upset with how that's gone into the horizon, so I'm just going to chuck that back, just to raise that down a little bit, just so we don't, you know, totally burn something away. And then just boosting the level slightly. That's probably too much, because we want that transition sort of between these areas to, you know, look reasonably real, but I also want to give the page, just the photo, a chance to, you know, bounce off the page, because often newsprint isn't the best quality paper. It's and we need to help it out a bit, whilst remaining true to ethics and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to boost his face a bit. I don't really want to go too hard in there. I want to keep that selection floating around and just hit onto the sharpen tool. As you can see, the strength isn't really big. My brush is, but because of the selections there, I'm not going to bother to readjust it. I'm just going to do a bit of a sharpen there. Nice. Cool, cool, cool. Still going. I think my computer's bogged down with the sharpen tool there. There we go, cool. Alright, so essentially we've gone from that to that so far. Subtle but kind of cool. Now it's time for the crop. Usually, if there's anything I'm unhappy with before at this stage, like if I've over photoshopped something or just the colors don't quite mesh, like kind of this area in here, that transition's a bit weird. What I use here is the history brush tool. You can hit Y on a keyboard to get it. I turn the opacity down, and what that means is as I paint with it, that area sort of goes back through time and the changes are gradually removed from it. It's sort of a cool trick, but as soon as you start using, as soon as you crop your photo, the ability to use the history brush just jumps right out the window. Straighten horizon, I've seen lots of photographers do lots of funky things. They they draw lines, they use straighten tools, they put rulers and masking tape on the computer screens. I kid you not, I've seen it. Me, I just grab the crop tool, I just tweak it around till one of these straight lines kind of pretty mostly matches up with the horizon, and then go from there. I mean, and if your rule of thirds crosshair kind of happens to line up on something cool, that's gravy. So we'll hit enter, accept that, get on a selection tool and just have a look at what we've got. Yeah, and I think we've come a pretty long way just from that. Now, just a really quick street fighting trick from the News Photography Polytechnic of Hard Knocks. If we go duplicate the layer, or layer by copy, which is Apple J, Control J, and then Apple Shift U, desaturate this this top layer here, and then I go into the filter, other, high pass. You can really set the radius to whatever you want. I kind of float around there depending on what camera I've shot this on. This was shot on an Olympus OMD EM5, so about 16 megapixels. Somewhere there is cool. If you want to match that to roughly what your megapixels are in your camera, that's not a bad way to... Anyway, I'm punching that. That's done. Going to merge that with the other layer, and hard light is the blend of method, preferred blend method, and but it looks a bit overcooked, so I'm just dragging the opacity down to where somewhere looks good. Yeah, that's cool. Look, I really can't explain why that technique's so good from a technical standpoint. Years ago, David Hobby, the strobist, the god of flash, strobist.com, posted that technique, and he got a bit slammed on the internet for it because it is pretty harsh on your pixels. It does throw a lot in the bin. It does mess things about, but once you start using it, particularly in a busy news environment, what you find is it sort of evens out colours. It does a bit of sharpening when you're not allowed to use sharpening. It just adds a bit of pop, a bit of definition. It sort of enhances the blur in the background a bit. It's just, I just encourage you to try using it more and more, and then you might find you enjoy it. Alright, cool, so that's pretty much it. I've talked you through that, and we've blown out to probably maybe 10 minutes. But that's that's a workflow, particularly once you get a couple of actions set up. You can just fly through it, and you can deliver your photos on time for your editor every time. Yeah, I think that's not a bad result. If I had more time, like if I was going to go home and work on this with a, over a cup of tea, I could spend more time on it, but I've got to get it in. I'm pretty happy with that. The only thing I might do is if I was working outside of the constraints of a newspaper, I'd probably clone out this little area here. But, I am an ethical news photographer, so it's got to stay. Any questions, hit me up. I hope you kind of got a giggle out of this video and maybe picked up a couple of things. Not saying the workflow of slow and steady and methodical and non-destructive with lots of layers is a bad way to do things. It's awesome. I'm just saying, in a newspaper with your editor breathing down your back, it's okay to take whatever shortcuts you need to get the job done. And I think those results are pretty cool given the time we spent on the picture. Let me know what you think. See ya.